Hi everyone, we're here in Renville, Minnesota for our weekly EBC. And actually this week I'm out at I've got a bunch of friends who love to grow sugar beets. If you've never seen a sugar beet, they look a little bit like table beets, but they're a lot bigger and they look a lot dirtier when you get started. We're actually going to think about sugar beets this week because we're talking about Matthew 17, 1 through 9. It's the Transfiguration of Jesus. And sugar beets are kind of an interesting reminder of what that means. You take something that's of the earth, kind of brown and dirty, and then actually what you turn it into is a lot of other brown and dirty that you can sell, but then also pure white sugar. And when we think about Jesus' transfiguration, of course, we've got somebody who's the Son of Man, and what he does is he winds up being transfigured and he shines in pure white. And James and John and Peter are with him when this happens. What I think is really interesting about this story is what happens next. James and John and Peter are there, and of course they have a very human reaction to the transfiguration. They see Elijah and Moses and they say, hey, let's start building huts for everyone. And how many times in our lives do we see something from God and then we start doing something else and think, oh, I've got a good plan for what's going to happen next on that. But really what we should be asking is, what does God have in mind for us when he's making our plan? And then Jesus actually also hears God say, this is my son. And Peter and James and John hear, this is my son. And of course they're afraid, because if we were hearing God's voice, we'd all be afraid. And Jesus is there saying, don't be afraid. And he's comforting us in that moment. But then one other kind of strange thing happens, which is that James and John and Peter have been shown this wonderful truth about Jesus. And what does Jesus do on the way back? He says, don't tell anyone. So there's a plan, everyone. And as we get to Ash Wednesday this week, the plan's going to be in motion. But don't tell anyone is a big part of the message, because we all need to come to our own faith in Jesus. Have a great week, everybody, and a fantastic time with your EBC.